All right. Welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, and we're still in transition, but we are on hump day, so it could be a whole lot worse.
I mean, humping on hump day. What a time to be alive. What a great day.
Oh, mate. Hey, so speaking of sports, stuff kind of wrapping up, you got different seasons getting ready to go, and we got the draft coming up, and there's been a lot of talk. Have you paid attention to it at all, Paulie, in regards to the NFL draft, not the WNBA?
Catching a little bit of the sounds like Cam Ward is going to be the number one pick. Couple other quarterbacks in that top 5 potentially. I think the quarterback is kind of the position everybody looks to and wants to talk about the most. But yeah, man, been hearing a little bit about it. How about you?
Well, that would be the same. I would go. It's kind of odd though. Like there's certain parts of Cam Ward's game you really like, as far as his pace, his accuracy, and a lot of that stuff down the field, the tangibles. I don't love how he gets so nonchalant in the pocket sometimes. I mean, it looks like he is playing beer league backyard, flag football, and so
flipping it around.
Yeah, but I will say this. There was a video circulating, I don't know, last year sometime. I guess it's he transferred to Miami. And it was him and Shadeur were at camp. And you could just tell he had kind of a chip on his shoulder. He has kind of had to grind his way to this pick. And feels like a mature kid. Feels like probably it's going to be successful. But always when you're the first overall pick, you're not going to a good team. So you're going to need some support. I think the more interesting thing was Shadeur getting his jersey retired before he even drafted or had a NFL career. Him and Hunter. And I thought that was a little bit premature.
Well, getting your jersey retired in college.
I'm sorry, not jersey, number.
Well, number, yes. I mean, same thing. But I thought that, like, I know NC State has some parameters around it. Like, you have to have been there for 4 years, have to have been an All-American, have to have been, certain things.
And it's usually, a lot of it's based on what you do post-career.
Yeah.
You think about the guys in the circle, is Torrey Holt. Thinking about football, Roman Gabriel, Tim Brown. There's some really big names that, I'm sure were awesome in college as well, but it was a lot of what they did post-career. And it just feels like, I don't know, I watched, and I've been back and forth on Deion Sanders and his coaching. Start with, I was kind of on board, and then I watched some more, and I was like, oh, it feels a little bit like Daddy coaching college football. And then, I don't know. I mean, I still respect his game, respect a lot of what he has to say as far how he believes in accountability and, kind of how he goes about his business. It's just sometimes it feels like a lot of parents, they, a little bit of filters when he's looking at his own kids. And so, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how Shadeur does,
Yeah, I mean, right now he's slated to be a top 5 pick. The other one, clearly that's interesting. You just mentioned Travis Hunter, right? I think he still wants to do both DB and wide receiver in the NFL. And it's happened a little bit, but not a ton, right? Like Charles Woodson did a little bit. Deion played a little receiver, right? But not a ton. So it'll be interesting to see how the teams go about such a thing, right? Because I know it's always weird because when somebody kind of breaks the mold like that, it's tough for coaches, especially established kind of deep-rooted coaches, to understand how to use such a player, right? Because they want them to be in the and I know once you get to the NFL level, you're doing more complicated schemes on offense and defense, so there's more to learn. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Travis Hunter is that good of an athlete and that can just transfer.
Yeah, well, I would say the thing I've noticed from watching the Hard Knocks and watching, years of football for that matter, and kind of sometimes you get some inside looks, what you notice is the guys are intelligent that play for very long. And it's not just, Jerry Rice, obviously a great athlete, great work ethic, but intelligent. All these guys who have, even Terrell Owens, you know, not necessarily a great teammate at times, but great athlete, great work ethic, and a intelligent. And so I I would say, and not to speak to Travis Hunter's intelligence because he probably is, but just the required knowledge to be able to play on both sides. You kind of hit on it. I think that's going to be the limitation. I think you can do packages of
Yeah.
offense or maybe packages and defensive schemes, but it's going to be really tough because it felt like when he flourished a lot, but he flourished. Maybe it felt like he really shined when he's playing inferior competition. I'll be curious when there's good athletes on both sides if he still has the same kind of impact that he had in college.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right, Brian. That's a big part of when you get to the NFL. I mean, whether the Cleveland Browns are good or bad, mostly bad, right? Those guys are still NFL players.
Yeah, they're still pros. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still big time and that sort of thing. So, yeah, draft coming up soon, so that'll be interesting to see what goes on there. And then there's still some talk around Aaron Rodgers, like where he ends up landing and how that affects some things as well. So,
I know. As much as I like him, man, he feels like I feel like if you got one foot, like let's see, I heard a guy talking about retirement. I'm trying to recall his name. Oh, it was Luke Kuechly. He was on Busting with the Boys.
yeah,
And like they asked him, like, "Hey, when did you know?" And he was like, "Week 16 of the year he retired." Like he's like, mentally, I didn't feel like I could stick my head in there. He battled concussions. I
yeah,
didn't feel like I was 1,000% in. And he's like, that's when I knew I had to be retired. I feel like Aaron Rodgers for these last couple of years has been like 40% out or maybe 40% in, and dealing with injuries, doing ayahuasca trips, and he going to find himself in dark places and all those things. And I think he's an interesting guy. And obviously, you got a lot of pushback for being inoculated, not being vaccinated in regard to the COVID situation.
yeah,
And brought a lot of attention to that I kind of liked him kind of fighting the power in that situation. But from a football standpoint, man, I just if he ends up at Pittsburgh, I don't know if I feel great about it or any better than I would have felt if they'd have got Russell Wilson or Fields. And so I don't know that he is a good enough athlete now still to make a real difference. If he goes into a situation where truly on these quarterbacks and they got a really superior line and quality receivers, he can be a piece that contributes. He don't feel like he can be the piece. He can't be the reason why the way he was all those years with Green Bay.
yeah. I mean, father time catches everybody at some point, and he may be to the point where he's, I mean, just I don't say too old, but he can't do some of the things he did 5 or 10 years ago for sure, right?
Yeah, and you just think about, Tom Brady. I don't know if you saw kind of his last deal when he was going through and obviously famously relationships broke up and for whatever reason on that, supposedly, she asked him to retire, didn't retire. Maybe she was already hooking up with a trainer, maybe she wasn't. But I would say his dedication to the mental side and the number of hours he took studying film during the week. Um, I remember Cousins when they did the inside look. I guess he maybe was still with Minnesota. Maybe it already was with Atlanta. Just the amount of time that is required. And I'm sure once you've done this for a long time, you can almost lie to yourself about how much time you need to put in. And I think, there's just so much time. And that's the reason Tom was so good for so long. He first of all, he kept getting better. And then mentally, he was always better. And then physically, he got to a point to where he could anticipate and do things and was never the best athlete out there. But he could just anticipate and use his mind so much better. It feels like Aaron, from a mental standpoint, is just kind of 50% in. And so, obviously, a Hall of Famer, and likable. But I don't know if I'd want him as my quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it feels kind of even Brett Favre kind of went through some of that stuff too. So
But
maybe
I thought Brett was still like committed to being Brett Favre. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
no,
Like,
he was kind of flaking in and out a little bit. He
I
was,
mean, he was kind of going back and forth, but he had success when he went to the Jets. He was one
yeah,
play away
yeah,
when
they
he was
won a
with
little
the
bit. Yeah,
Vikings.
yeah, you're
He
right.
was, and so I would just say Aaron hadn't had any success since he left Now famously, Brett Favre has had hundreds of concussions and supposedly he's diagnosed with Parkinson, and so he's had the downsides of a bunch of collisions and playing through stuff. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely I guess the parallels you can definitely make from the standpoint that he was very indecisive when it came to coming back from year to year. But once he was in, it felt like he was in. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. We got NBA, we got NHL, we've got WNBA, and then we've still got our baseball season. And I keep getting clips of Hunter Green and
Because you know
him
what,
painting.
your phone's listening to you, Brian.
It has
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
listening to us because I keep on my Instagram reels, on everything that I click on, I keep seeing him painting and throwing 100 miles an hour. And then I hear him speak, and I like him that much more. And I'm like, dude, how is this guy's name not more popular or just as popular as Paul Skeens? And
Well, because he's in Cincinnati, I think is a big part of it. But I mean, I guess Skeens is in Pittsburgh, but Skeens was the number one overall pick and had a lot of notoriety around who he was coming out of college and all that kind of stuff too at
do you
LSU.
think the girlfriend? Did you see the girlfriend poses Hunter Skeens? I mean Hunter Skeens, Paul Skeens, and Livy. Did you see their little? I don't know if it was GQ or what it
Oh,
was.
I
Did you see their
did. I can't even
poses?
remember what it was. I did see it, but I don't. I
Did it
don't
feel
know.
cringy to you, or was it just me at my point in life?
Yeah, I think it was a little goofy. I don't. Hold on. I don't remember exactly what it was. Let's see. What was cringy about it for you, Brian?
Well, I mean, it was just like she was leaning over a table, kind of in his face. He's sitting at like a desk, and it felt like maybe like softcore porn. I don't know. It just felt like could be a cover for one of those late night Cinemax movies. I don't know. It did not feel. I don't know what the idea was. Obviously, they're brands. I guess now everybody's trying to have a brand for themselves. They don't really feel like they match. And I don't know either one of them, but Paul Skeens feels kind of old school, very serious, do things, when people aren't looking. And it feels like she's kind of the opposite. Obviously she was really successful, gymnast but it felt like her popularity was based off her looks. It feels like Paul Skeens' popularity is based off his success. And so they don't always, in my mind, match up. But their photo shoot, it just felt cringy. I couldn't even look at them. It just felt like, what are we doing? What are we trying to
Yeah,
promote
I
with
see
that?
it now. The GQ. Yeah, it looks like there's kind of a throwback to the '70s kind of. I don't know what that is. Paul Stevens has
And
quite the.
obviously, it wasn't for our age group. I guess maybe it's for somebody else. Clearly, we're past that. I told you it's
Have you so
25 to
Brian?
44.
So it's
Yeah.
GQ magazine. I haven't subscribed to a magazine in forever, right? What magazines that you used to love reading, or did you ever have subscriptions to anything?
No, I remember a couple of things. I remember my dad had Sports Illustrated when I was
Uh-huh.
a kid, and so we definitely looked at those. And I remember a lot of those covers, and then I guess I had a buddy of mine who had Maxim back in college, and that was entertaining, and for all the articles, and so that was, it was. I never actually. I don't think I've ever personally had a subscription to any magazine. Um, I think they kind of do a racket with us with lacrosse. You have to
Like
subscribe to get
sell
this number.
subscriptions, yeah.
Yes, and then they send you this magazine every month, and I do look at it, but no, I mean, no, I didn't even know GQ was still in business, and so I saw the pictures. I wasn't sure what they were trying to do, but
They're
good
trying to get
for
people like us to
Drew.
talk about it. It's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and they got that. They got that accomplished. I guess they like. I can't imagine like somebody convincing me. Maybe at a younger age when I wasn't comfortable completely who it was. Maybe. Well, you remember when Alex A-Rod took those pictures of himself posing in the mirror?
Where he's kissing the mirror, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, I just don't think anybody could ever convince me to do that. I mean, no matter how much you're paying me, I just don't think anybody could ever convince me to do what Paul Skeens did with his girlfriend and what Alex Rodriguez, at the time, the greatest baseball player in the game, or at least one of them. I just can't imagine putting myself in like like your true fans, they get the irks or the icks whenever they see those kind of pictures. I just, I don't know. It's just really bizarre that you can be put in that environment and then kind of portray yourself in a way that maybe that's how they want to be portrayed. But it was for A Rod and for Skeens, it doesn't feel on brand to me.
Now, what about all right, Brian? So so you know the ESPN body issue. Have you ever seen this one?
Yeah, I didn't feel comfortable with it either,
Where
honestly.
everybody's naked and doing the pictures?
I just didn't under it. It feels like it was trying to take, and again, you would look at it because you could appreciate the female body. I mean, I'm a red American blooded, whatever the term is, male. But it felt like you were taking really good athletes that had really great skill or athleticism and turning it sexual. And it felt like for the longest time, or at least it feels like since then, that's kind of been the opposite. Like you want to be appreciated for the skill, not necessarily for the looks or for the body, how it looks in tight clothes. And so it felt kind of counterproductive. I know there's guys who did it too,
Oh yeah, a lot of guys.
um, but it never felt. It felt like we're trying to take sports and make it sexual, and I didn't really like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I look at my body now in the mirror. I'm like, man, I want maybe not a fully naked picture of myself in such a man, but like, it's like what am I seeing what I look like with my shirt off back in the day? You know, like used to be able to see my abs a little bit, that sort of thing. But I don't know, man. This the body issues were always something pretty interesting, and
Well, again, I just didn't understand. Again, you're trying to take great athletes and make, and again, I guess maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. Maybe it should have been, oh, look at the cut on her thigh, how she's
there's some of these.
really,
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up right now. They've got a whole website dedicated to it, and it's
and it's like I just don't know that. And even from the male perspective, like I don't know. I appreciate what guys athletically could do. I didn't necessarily. Now there were definitely some guys. I remember Adrian Wilson when we were at NC State and we shared locker rooms. Obviously, he's safety. He played for the Cardinals for a long time.
yeah, yeah.
I remember seeing him maybe in just like a tank top in the most non-sexual way, thinking he looks like he's chiseled out of stone.
Oh
And this
yeah,
is when he's in college. He looked like he was like on the juice, like full cycle, and he wasn't. I mean, that's the way he looked his entire pro career too.
yeah.
And so I can appreciate just the form and shape, and maybe that's what they were going for. But the body itself, it I don't know, it didn't never feel right, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've actually I'm looking through them all. And I've there's a couple of like my former teammates that actually posted. So Jose Bautista, I played with him in Altoona one year, and then he had a good big league career. And then Prince Fielder did it as well. I played with Prince for a little bit, so
It
it's
doesn't feel like his body would be one that you would like to view without clothes.
no, but you know what? To each their own. You know what I mean? Make it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I'm not much to look at now, and I wasn't. I mean, I was much better shaped back in the day, but it doesn't feel like I don't know. It's just really again how the culture kind of ebbs and flows, and what I don't know. Maybe maybe clearly there is a market for it, but I never completely understood it.
Yeah. So maybe that's what I'll get you for your birthday next year, Brian. A little magazine subscription because it's always nice to have a magazine, something around to read. But I guess it's print
I mean, you go
media.
straight to phone now. I mean, sometimes, like, I'll tell you one of my weird things. Like, if I'm having trouble going to sleep at night, I'll get on like the science websites and I'll start reading science articles until they put me to sleep.
Yeah, that's the way to
So
do it.
maybe like a National Geographic or something like that. I could appreciate those kind of things.
Popular mechanics.
I don't know. I'm not into how things. Well, I guess I kind of am. When I was a kid, I could always take things apart. I could never get them put back together and functioning. But I would say, yeah, much more of a National Geographic.
Did you
Show
say
me
you could
like,
take them apart but not get them back?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I did that a number of times with toys, and I thought, oh, let me see how this works. So I take it apart, and then like I'm missing like a spring, and it never works properly. But so anyway, yeah. What would be so? I told you mine. What would be your magazine of choice at this point, considering what is still available?
I honestly, dude, I don't even know. I used to love like on plane trips. Just you get to the airport, I'd always buy ESPN magazine and Sports Illustrated. As a kid, my parents got me subscription to Baseball Digest,
Oh, that makes
which
sense.
I
That
love
makes perfect
that.
sense.
Yeah, a lot of kind of nerdy baseball articles. Um, I was subscribed to Baseball America for a little while, through high school and stuff like that. And then even I think even into like pro baseball was on that. And then I think Sports Illustrated. I've had kind of different times in my life Sports Illustrated subscriptions. And I remember,
Yeah, they used to have some real. They used to have some real writers and would write full pieces, and then it felt like it got a little political and it got a little off of point. And then obviously the media changed, or how people were digesting media, and it felt like it could have at one time transitioned to an online type platform and became a real competitor. Maybe not from a media standpoint, but from an article standpoint, they could have really did some things. I mean, now famously you got the Players Tribune, which is always kind of interesting to hear players and their perspective whenever they try to, pin whatever opinion or whatever their thoughts are. And I think that's a pretty neat outlet as well. And I have read a few articles on that.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we had. I remember same thing about probably the same time as you. One of my roommates had a Maxim subscription, so that was always a popular one.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Always really quality articles in there.
Yeah, actually, I had a. So this was crazy. One in 2000, the clubby, and so I started the year in Huntsville. Was awful, and then got moved down to high A ball, which was in Stockton. But the team was the Stockton Porch, and they rebranded themselves the Mudville Nine because
Okay.
apparently Stockton is where that poem was written, or something like that. There's some history there. So, anywho, the clubby that year was a guy named Steve Pandell, and we call him Scuba Steve,
I like it.
and then just Scuba. So Scuba he was not a clubby. He did not aspire to be a baseball person. But what he was doing was he was following the team for a year or a season, and then was writing up an article about it. So that article was actually published in Maxim magazine. So
Oh, dude, that's really cool. Did y'all know at the time?
yeah, no, we knew he was a writer. We knew he was, but there were some crazy things that happened. And I remember in the article that was the year one of the. So we got some new pants in, and a couple guys had needed them, and a couple of guys wanted them, and Scuba just left them out in the clubhouse, and you can't just do that in the clubhouse because it's a feed
No,
store.
no,
Yeah,
no. People are going to grab and go.
yeah,
Yeah.
guys start grabbing, and so Scuba kind of confronted one guy. He's like, "Hey, these pants are for this other guy," and the guy was like, "He's like, no, man, like these are my pants. Like I need them." He's like, "No, no, these are for the other guy." And he's like, "Scuba, get out of my face! If you say one more thing, I'm gonna choke you," or something along those lines.
Right. It's becoming a physical
Yeah,
confrontation.
it's about to get
Yeah.
real. And Scuba's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to take those pants." He started reaching into his locker, and the dude grabbed him by the throat, jacked him up against the door that like led outdoors. It was like chucking. And so some guys started grabbing it. Scuba reached out, like hit the door, like it was one of those long things that push that. They both kind of fell out the door and fell open. They separated them, that sort of thing. And I nobody got in trouble for it or anything. But
Who got the pants? Did he get the pants back?
I am assuming the guy who choked him kept the pants. But in
Oh
the
yeah.
article, he kind of relays that story, and then at the end of the article, he's like, "Man, this guy tried to kill me today, and now I'm washing his jockstrap." And so, like, no real moral to the story other than just like,
Just facts. Hey, I'll tell you, and I don't know if you've seen it yet. I mentioned it to you. I watched the first couple episodes. You will like it. The Clubhouse on Netflix.
oh, the Red Sox story. I haven't watched any of it yet.
Dude, we need, matter of fact, we probably should just do some recaps, some takes on that during this time between championships, and baseball's just kind of, doing what it does. I think we need to watch it, maybe do some recaps on that. But dude, hey, I got to get out of here on this Wednesday. But dude, hey, the Clubhouse, I'm recommending strongly.
All right, well, I'll get into it. I did see the only thing I read about was it follows the Red Sox during the 2024 season.
Yep.
The only piece I read about was like Jaron Duran talks a lot about mental health and that sort of thing. Um,
He's definitely battling his demons. Cassis, who plays first base, is a free spirit. Very interesting guy. I did not know. Kind of. I mean, he is a get out to the sun naked in his underwear, paints his fingernails. Kind of a. I don't know. It feels like he does it a little bit for attention, a little bit because he likes to be different. But he's kind of a weird, likable guy almost. Very self-deprecating, him and Durant both. So again, it just kind of takes you inside. It's almost a version of Hard Knocks, but through the entire season. It's really well done, I think, too.
all right, we'll give it a look. Well, hey, thanks for checking us out on this Wednesday. We hope your hump day is fantastic. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on all the socials, and certainly on the podcast. And make it a great day.
Out, go Pack and Tigers.